Here's a memorable moment from the Adam Carolla Show's Ace Awards archives.
For the police to come into the school and pick up the kid in the chair and
we
slam
agree.
him. That's
a
too
bad
much.
example. That's the part we agree on.
Too much.
It's too much.
Why are we going back to square one?
She's such a problem solver. Who's a better problem solver, her or Gavin Newsom? Yeah. So we've gotten rid of the predatory check cashing places. Yeah. That was Gavin's thing.
Solved.
And then her thing is violence in the inner city in the classroom. Problem solved?
We're cleaning up today.
Yes. This is what politicians do! Yeah. Nothing!
The 2025 Ace Awards, coming this December. Now back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Was that Maxine Waters?
That was Maxine Waters from 2015.
You do understand that, like, a lot of our politicians are over 85 and unstable mentally and just walk around going, I don't know what's happening with things, but I'm not like weird and angry and volatile and half dead.
Yeah.
And just making policy.
Yeah. You know what's funny is how old is that Gavin Newsom interview? It's got to be 12 years old now, something like that. You know, it's funny because every time I go out and people, they hear about that we're chummy together, they always go, did you ever listen to his interview with Gavin Newsom? And I'm like, yeah, it's iconic. It lives in the annals of history as one of the best ever.
I find myself thinking about it all the time. And then I also, and not about the interview per se, but I sort of find myself thinking about stuff. Like, I think about the same thoughts. It seems a little Asperger-y and it's like obsessive or something, but I'm sort of vexed in things in life. Like somebody tweeted me, I don't know, Andrew over there was telling me about the whatever region in Philadelphia, and it's just homeless drug addicts, just sort of in a catatonic state, like sort of your
zombie
mic,
style.
Yeah, turn your mic down a little.
There you go.
There you go. Dawson loves it. Okay. I don't know what it is that puts you into that state where you sort of lean over and put your forehead on your knees and then just sort of freeze that way for extended periods of time. It's Kensington, Philadelphia that I was looking at. And it's people just handing out syringes and bent over and either dead or almost dead on the ground, and people in that weird thing where you bend over. It's essentially you try to touch your toes, but your knees bend a little and you just freeze out. Mm-hmm. And everyone's just passed out like a zombie. I mean, in the street, on the ground, head. I mean, it's really as sad as human existence gets.
That looks like the worst yoga class ever.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And it's just junkie after junkie after junkie passed out on the ground and in some weird state where they're unable to function, and they're shooting each other in the back. I don't know. It's gross. It's sort of humanity sort of flopped out everywhere. I'm sure women are prostituting themselves, men are prostituting themselves, crime, whatever. And it's just a shit show. It's just an utter, nothing more depressing than this. Okay. And it's all adults. They're all fucked up. They're all bent over, and they're all on drugs. And then I think back on Gavin Newsom explaining to me about the mom with the full-time job and just divorced, and he's trying to explain to me what homelessness was. And I was like, it's drugs. It's drugs. It's just drugs. And he's going, no, but what about the true face, the real face? And I'm like, but that doesn't exist. And then I start thinking about that all the time. Like, I don't know what we're doing. I have no idea. I drive around this town, and there are people in the right lane, and they never use their blinker. So I don't know if they're turning right or not turning right, and cars are going by, and then cars stop going by, and then at some point the signal changes and they turn right. And I'm like, just turn right. You can turn right. You can turn right, everyone. Wake up. You can turn. It's legal. It's safe. It's legal. It's safe. I don't know what you're doing. You could put that on the electronic freeway sign. Just turn right. Yeah. And it would be a huge impact in terms of traffic in this city, and we just do click it or ticket. And people go, well, who cares? And I go, there's all this information. We could do like a full frontal assault on use your blinker and turn right. But we don't. We never even bring it up. And people don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they don't know how to drive. And they just sit there, and they just clog it all up. And I find myself honking at people constantly, like, go. And they're like, huh? Oh, okay. But I don't know. Why don't you know this? It's traffic everywhere. This would help. Get the message out. Put it on the sign.
I don't understand why people don't want to help themselves. Just help yourself. Like when it comes to traffic, or the biggest issue I've always had in a corporate setting is people with the coffee pot. Why do you take the empty coffee pot and put it on the goddamn hot burner, and then it leaves that film on the bottom, and then your coffee tastes like shit? Why would you not get rid of the coffee pot? Do something about it.
They'll take a mayonnaise jar or mustard container that's bone empty and just go right back into the fridge. And what that does at the workplace is you don't get a new one because people look at the yellow container and they go, all right, we're good with mustard.
Yeah.
We're lousy with mustard. Yeah, here's what I would argue. People sleepwalk and they don't care, but nobody puts the empty coffee pot back onto the hot warmer at their own house.
Never.
And nobody blows up a burrito in their own microwave and walks away.
Yeah.
So we have two different standards here, my friend.
Yep.
And my argument is the two. I don't mind the part where you're just fucking Blutarski, from Animal House. Look, you want to blow up your microwave and my microwave, fine, but I think you treat your shit differently.
Wildly different.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do not like the chasm.
No. Also, the other big one, there was our setting at the radio station back in Minneapolis.
The radio station.
The worst human beings you've ever worked with.
Oh, the worst.
I literally had to etch into the side of my headphones, my shit don't touch. 3 weeks later, guess who walks into his locker one day? Headphones gone, never to be found again.
I hadn't thought about it, but one of the first gifts that Jimmy Kimmel bought me was a set of these Sony headphones.
Yeah.
Probably like these, right?
Those are the best headphones in America.
Well, I can't compare them to anything because that's the standard. That's what everyone did. And so I'm at the radio station. I'm at K-Rock, one of the biggest stations in the world, and jocks there getting paid hundreds of thousands a year and so on. So there's millionaires walking around that place. And he gets me my own, I haven't thought about this story in 30 years. He gets me a set of headphones. Like, now you're in radio, my friend. Like Excalibur sword. He pulled it out and he bequeathed it to me.
Come in a leather bag?
Yeah, came in a little pouch. And I go, yeah, okay, thanks. He goes, do not leave these around. You take these home with you. You protect these. You guard these. You get an armed escort and walk them out to your car at night. I'm like, why? And he's like, they will be stolen immediately. And I go, what? It's just a bunch of rich white people here. Like, what do they need? They got their own headphones. Why? What do you mean? I can't leave my headphones just open in this cubby hole? No. You take them home. And I was like, what the fuck's wrong with everyone around here that they would steal? Oh, they will steal it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest problem you ran into was when the morning show would have celebrity guests in, and they would their guest would bring a guest that was unannounced. Mm-hmm. So then they needed an extra pair of headphones. So then they would go grab your headphones, let whoever it is, the tertiary character on the show, wear those headphones, and then they would just sit there. Nobody would put them back. And then the next show, the afternoon show, would come in and go, whose headphones are these? Oh, they don't need to be here. And then they just take them and they throw them somewhere out in the lobby, and then somebody grabs them. They're never to be heard from again.
Radio people, and let's not get started with the radio station fridge and the food, because man, that's when it really kicks in.
If you want to see people have no self-control, just wait until that email comes out, the mass email that goes out to every employee of the radio station, free food in the commissary, and watch everybody on a diet or everybody who's been trying to cut back on the carbs. The second that email comes, we could literally sit by an office that was right next to where the kitchen was, and you could count it down. Second everybody got that email, free food in the commissary, it was like 5, 4, 3. You'd get to 1, and the whole door would open with just nobody's got any self-control in radio for whatever reason.
There's something about free food in radio, which is weird, because when you have a job and you're like a roofer, like your family would do, or construction or something, you're really working, and then free food's a big deal.
Yeah.
But you don't feel entitled to it. But sitting in air conditioning and talking, I don't know, you work up a man-sized hunger, like just bloviating into a microphone. Like, you're not burning a lot of calories, so why do you need all the free grub? But the greatest part about I wish someone had started a coffee table book that just said 90s radio station common fridge notes. Because I'd love pulling up to that fridge and it'd be like, "Dear asshole, I had half a Yoplait lemon custard in here and now it's gone. So to the maniac that took it or ate it or threw it out, you can fuck it right off." Like so freaked out that somebody threw away their half a burrito that was left behind or ate it. There's a lot of eating of other people's food in there. It always made me laugh.
I had a great moment. Sometimes you have to be taught the right way, and we had the soda machine that had the little manila envelopes that if you lost your 50 cents to get a can of Diet Coke, you could put your name on it, and then they would put the 50 cents in, tape it back to the vending machine, you get your 50 cents back. I lost 50 cents to the vending machine, and I'm filling it out, and I'll never forget it. The morning show guy, his name was Weasel, because everybody's got to have a weird name like that. He walks in, he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting it took my change." And he goes, "What is your time worth? Your time is for 50 cents? You're really going to, Jesus Christ, you make like $50K a year here. What are you talking about, 50 cents? And I went, "Oh yeah, you're right. Never again have I ever, if I lose $2 to a vending machine now, I'm sorry. I guess I've gotten more than my fair share of free shit in this world."
Taking financial advice from a guy named Weasel there, buddy. All right, what's in the news?
All right, so this is a big one. I know you're going to have some thoughts about this. A study published on Friday revealed just how many times reporters and anchors on cable news outlets CNN and MSNBC referred to the violent protests and riots in Los Angeles as peaceful. Protests were called peaceful 211 times. CNN aired more than half of that, 123, with the other mentions coming from MSNBC at 88.
Yeah, because this is what they would like, and it's hard to. We've now crossed some Rubicon where we can no longer separate what you want or your feelings from whatever the story is or whatever the event is and however it unfolded. And there used to be a strong sort of a mandate to do that. Like there was a kind of a thing where you had to keep your own feelings out of certain jobs, because I think that job was, you were an umpire, and, if you're an umpire, every umpire, I mean, let's put it to you this way. Every major league umpire who's ever worked loves baseball. That's how you become a major league umpire. You tried to play, maybe you flamed out in college or something, then you got, doing AAA or something. You're an umpire because you love umpiring and you love baseball. You had to love baseball. No 9-year-old dreams of becoming an umpire. They want to play center field for the Yankees, but you have a dream of as a baseball. Okay. None of these guys just grew up in some Nordic town in some Nordic country. They grew up in Cleveland, and they grew up in Philly, they grew up in LA, they grew up in San Francisco. They all grew up somewhere. And if you're a young kid and you're a diehard fan of baseball, then you're a diehard fan of the team you grew up with, and that was somewhere until you were, 18 or 20 or whenever you moved out of that town. But you're that dude. You love the Brewers.
Yeah.
That's your team. And everybody has their team. And it's like, well, I like the Dodgers, but I wasn't a massive baseball fan. But if you're a massive enough baseball fan to be a baseball umpire, then you were big in your team.
Yeah.
Okay, then those guys go to the stadium, wherever it is. Could be their home stadium, could be away. Not only do you have your team, but you have your team's nemesis, the Dodgers, they hated the Giants and the Yankees, and then there's all the rivalries that go the other directions. Fine. So that 9-year-old boy is now standing behind the plate at age 55, and his team may be at bat, or on the mound, or it could be the ninth inning, or it could be a crucial game, or the World Series. He does not show up to the stadium in his team's jersey. He'd immediately be reprimanded and thrown out of baseball. He can't do it, and he could make no allusions to any of it.
Yeah.
He can't even do anything. He can't even put on that cap.
Can't, in the middle of a pitch, do the tomahawk chop? None of that?
I will bet you, by knowing nothing but knowing everything, that with Major League umpires, there's a whole laundry list of, I don't care if it's Sunday during the off season, you cannot put that fucking Marlins hat on and go down to the pub and have a few beers. You cannot. You can display nothing. You could, if Tommy Lasorda's brother's doing a book signing across the street from your house, you can't go over there and wait in line.
Yeah.
You cannot. There can be no sense of improprieties with any of this. And that's how news used to be. But then after a while, we went, fuck it. Now, my theory, people argue with me, but I'm always right. We got a lot more women involved, not only in front of the camera, but behind the camera, next to the camera, in the editorial booths, and all copywriters. We got an influx of women. Women are not as skilled at keeping it close to the vest when they don't like somebody, or they're vehemently against abortion, or they're vehemently for abortion, or whoever it is. They don't do a good job of having a poker face.
Yeah.
Whatever Lady Gaga says, I don't believe that bitch in her poker face. So now you got a lot more women in this area. I mean, Walter Cronkite, was Walter Cronkite, and his staff probably looked like, when they go to those guys, the Apollo mission, and they'd show the guys at NASA, and it was just the same white dude with the horn-rimmed glasses and the thin tie, and it was just white dude after white dude. When back in the day, when those newscasters were sitting at their desk in 1968, they're probably just looking at a sea of those guys, right? So now it's tons of females, and females got feelings. They like stuff. They don't like Trump.
Yeah.
Or they do.
And if they do, then it's time to hit the road, sister. You got to get out.
They're not going to sit on their feelings.
Yeah.
And dudes who grow up in that, they don't grow up storming the beach of Normandy. They don't grow up in a logging camp. They go to fucking college, and they're pussies, and they think like chicks, and they cross their legs like chicks. Well, we're going to get more and more of how they feel.
Yeah.
And so and also, it's a really self-selecting group. Like, you go, I don't know, why are all publicists either chicks or gay? I don't know. It attracts them.
Yeah.
The regular dudes don't want to be a publicist. It's a shit demeaning job for a dude. But Howie Long wouldn't have wanted to be a publicist because it's a shit job that's demeaning. But it's attractive. Or, nursery school teachers. Oh, young women. Okay, firemen, men. Okay, like certain jobs attract certain groups. Journalism school at college, I mean, that is a progressive, educated group, so you're already turning out a bunch of like-minded people, and then they're not going to be able to keep their opinions to themselves, and they're going to start doing tenths, shades, degrees, like little bits and pieces. Like, Andrew, what was that? Like, they'll do it like this all the time. They'll go, there'll be a headline on USA Today or New York Times or LA Times, and they'll go, Trump claims falsely the election was tampered with. And it's like, you don't have to put falsely.
Yeah.
Trump claims, Trump is claiming that the election was tampered with. Like, I may have been claiming that the earth is flat, or I'm claimed to be the greatest comedian of all time, or Evel Knievel claims to be the greatest entertainer of all time. The greatest dare. Evel Knievel claims to be the greatest daredevil of all time. But they don't write Evel Knievel falsely acclaimed. So where's the falsely come in? But by the way, how do you know it's falsely? You just said Hunter Biden's laptop was not real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when they start editorializing and they start adding things, you can go, oh, because the news is, I claimed I was raped by P. Diddy, but not falsely. You can't add. You may not believe me, but you don't know.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's not the story. The story is I claimed that I was raped. Evel Knievel falsely claims P. Diddy raped him. No, the story's Evel Knievel claims P. Diddy raped him.
Yeah,
That's your news line.
Yeah, Evel would never let that happen. He would be doing the raping in that scenario.
Oh, he's the
sure.
top.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's always on top.
Power top and bottom. That's how badass Evel Knievel is. Speaking of women in journalism, I know we talked about this the other day, but I definitely want to give a shout out to Liz Collins from Minnesota and her documentary, The Fall of Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. I just rewatched it a couple of days ago. I love everything, and especially it's one thing to have a voice like Liz Collins in Texas or in Florida, but the fact that she has a voice like that in such a progressive state, it really takes a lot of balls.
Oh, I got thoughts on that. What is it's baseless and unfounded. What was the story it was attached to, Andrew? That's what I was trying to figure out. Like they'll do a lot of baseless claims and unfounded that they do. But again, the claim is the election was tampered with. You adding baseless, well, we don't know because we've not investigated this. But by the way, even if we did know, that's not your job.
Yeah.
What was that? It was Trump was claiming that there was genocide in South Africa, but they added baseless claim.
Oh, sure.
But the problem is Trump is claiming that there's genocide in South Africa. Okay, let's find out if there's genocide in South Africa. But you added baseless or unfounded. And now I know not to listen to you when you're talking about Trump because you're not calling balls and strikes anymore. It was funny. God, I mean, think about this. So the story was of Derek Chauvin and the whole trial and the whole mess and how they cooked everything and what they tried to did and fentanyl levels and George Floyd and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? It's funny. I was in Home Depot today and for some reason this came up with Dr. Drew. And I said, look, imagine your fate as a cop. Your fate as a cop. Now, as a cop, probably the worst thing that can happen to you is spend your life in jail as a cop, right? And then you go, well, how would you get to jail? And it's like, well, let's say you killed somebody. All right, and you had to go to jail. All right, but imagine this, and it's all optics, but think about this. Derek Chauvin shows up late to an event where George Floyd was put in the car, said he couldn't breathe, got pushed out of the car, so on and so forth. And he just gets a call and he shows up. I don't know, it's any given Tuesday afternoon from him. And then he's trying to do crowd control, and this guy's on his back. And his knee looks like he's cutting off his windpipe, but it's not. And the coroner says he's got fentanyl in this thing and everything. But the whole town's going to burn unless you go to jail for the rest of your life. So the coroner, the mayor, the DA, everyone will just go in on it. You'll get railroaded and go to it. So imagine you're one of two cops in your fate. One is you're the white guy with the crew cut who shows up, and there's a black guy who's saying, I can't breathe. Well, you're squatted over his back with your knee, and the entire nation's going to riot unless you go to jail. Now, did you kill the guy? No. I mean, you guys can go look at the real coroner's report and stuff like that. There was no damage to the windpipe and all that kind of stuff. He had enough fentanyl in him to kill him, and he had a lot of heart disease and stuff like that. So did you kill the guy? Okay, let's say you aided to that, you contributed 10% to his death. I don't know that you would even. I'll be generous and say that Chauvin contributed 10% to George Floyd's death.
It was a lot of like the COVID deaths where, somebody either had a heart attack or there was like a stroke or something that had happened. But it also coincided with the fact that they had COVID at the time. Right. Well, then that death didn't get attributed to a heart attack. It became a COVID death.
All right. So you got a son. And he could either be Derek Chauvin cop.
I thought you were telling me. I was like, oh, shit.
Let me tell you.
I knew about a daughter, but man.
Or you could be the cop who worked at the Capitol Police and shot that chick in the face from 6 feet away, just pulled out your revolver or your pistol and shot Ashley Babbitt point blank in the face and killed her, even though she didn't possess a weapon and she was a diminutive woman.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, all right. Then you'd kind of go, oh, well, what was more egregious? And you go, well, I think shooting that chick in the face from 6 feet away who was unarmed, even though it was a hairy situation, she was pushing through the window and it was hectic, but no shots had been fired. No one had been stabbed or anything. And you're a big dude. You got a gun. Mm-hmm. Probably didn't have to shoot her in the face, but you did. Okay. I would say you're pretty responsible for the death of Ashley Babbitt. Okay. I won't go 100%. I'll go 80%. She didn't have to try to break into the building, but she did. And there's lots, I think, as we've seen over the last 20 minutes, our society, there's lots of people there's lots of cops sitting in cop cars while people are jumping up and down on the hood. They don't reach out the window and shoot them. Mm-hmm. They just sit there. They just it's dangerous, it's hairy, it's hectic, but you're there. So if you're the cop who just shot Ashley Babbitt in the face, but let's really consider where we're at as a society. Oh, well, now, no problemo. That guy, first off, he was turned into a hero by the media and the left. And then second of all, they just went, just slap on the wrist or something. I don't know. Just retire with full pay. Mm-hmm. No trial, no prison time.
Yeah.
No burn. No one's going to burn anything. No nothing. Okay. So you got one cop who's pretty damn guilty of snuffing a citizen, and then you got another cop who's barely guilty of snuffing a citizen. One is retired somewhere now with full pay, and the other is being stabbed multiple times in prison and will never get out. Why? Yeah. All optics. One guy was black. She was white. He was black. That was helpful. Mm-hmm. It's helpful that the cop that shot Ashley Babbitt was black. And as a society, we're cool with this. We just go, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's your justice system.
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched with my own two eyes the 3rd precinct burn down in Minneapolis, and what people were calling that as a peaceful protest, and then looking at January 6th and going, yes, both are terrible, but you can't call one peaceful and one not.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like one is
Yes.
wrong, one is not. We're both watching the same thing. I don't understand how your version of it differs from mine.
Well, it's weird. It's also strange, maybe a little bit of chick thinking here, where you're trying to just sort of bend and morph reality constantly, where into like, that didn't happen, this did happen. Stop trying to twist it and bend it. You can say peaceful, but we can see images of Waymos burning, and so we don't think it's peaceful. Yeah. And also, there are ways, when people are like, you scare these people with the National Guard. All right, I'll tell you what, if you're scared, go home. Don't punch the cop and don't punch his horse, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah, my girlfriend came from a kind of somewhat affluent family, and this weekend I was on the phone with her, and she was complaining about affluent boat owners in Minnesota. And I laughed and said, isn't your family a boat owner? And she's like, well, that's different. I said, you know what this is? This is the Posh Spice moment in the documentary when Beckham is calling her out for driving a Rolls Royce to school every day, where let's kind of turn the optics on us a little bit. Look inward, Yeah,
so that doc, which is very interesting.
It's so well done. Yeah. I really do applaud her for being in a state that does not allow, first off, women in her position to speak, but to get it out there as much as she can. I'm a big fan. Speaking of Minnesota, Tim Walz told Dems to be meaner, but then blamed Trump's mean tweets for political violence. Governor Tim Walz attempted to blame political violence, like the targeted shooting of 2 Democratic lawmakers and their spouses in his home state, on mean tweets in an apparent jab at President Donald Trump, despite the fact that he himself called on Democrats to be meaner just a few weeks earlier. We got the video of it.
Oh, the governor's being mean, and the governor's speaking out on that. Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Oh. The governor's being mean, and the governor's speaking out on that. Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with him. Like, I would say this. I mean, here's my take. You may disagree with, folks on the right, Tom Cotton, Jim Jordan, okay, someone's Rand Paul, disagree. But I don't go, something's wrong with him. And like Maxine Waters or Gavin Newsom or Tim Walz, I go, there's something wrong with them. Like he doesn't think in a linear, pragmatic, or sort of clear way. I don't think you've seen this one, but my favorite, we pulled it, Dawson, several months ago, but he was digging into Elon. And he was talking about, man, this guy's got money. Man, if I had money, I wouldn't be yelling on Twitter. I'd be out in the street. I'd be handing it out. Come on, give people a helping hand. Look, that's his version of money.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk, I don't know, he could just take $1 billion and put it in a couple trash bags and just go out in the street and then find those guys in Philly.
Yeah, homelessness is solved.
The guys in the Philly who were bent over because they were fucking on fentanyl, just hand them some cash so they could be successful too.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with the way that guy thinks.
Yeah, well,
like he doesn't, or he's just sucking everyone off.
I was going to say
something.
that. His crowd thinks that that's how you solve problems is by throwing money at it. That's how it all happens. It was like if these people had enough money, if problems were solved like that, we have enough money on the planet to solve them. Wouldn't we have done it by now?
You just go to those guys down in Philly Street over there and the catatonic zombie guys and just give them all like $1,000 in 20s, right?
Somebody in my life constantly says, if I had money every Christmas, I would go out to the stores and I would just hand out $100 bills. And in my mind, I'm like, you could do that now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be $1 million, but you could take $1,000 of your money and go hand out 10 $100 bills. You could do that, but you don't do it now. So why would you do it when you get older?
They would never
do it. No,
I
of
know.
course not. No.
I know. It's their weird,
Silly.
retarded version of adulthood or capitalism or rich or something. I don't know what it's like a fourth grader's. It's like when you're in fourth grade and you think about having money and you just go, I would just and we'd all live in Hawaii and we'd build a castle out of Legos. They don't really understand how people make money and how many employees and also they don't really ever factor in how many jobs these guys create by what they're doing. They just think they get all the money and they don't give it to anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm more of a Lincoln Log kind of guy. That's what my house would be out of. But if you want Legos, it's fine.
What I'll do is I'll go Lincoln Log for the foundation, so I get a strong, steady base, and then we go Lego for the main quarters.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see if we can find that. We had it somewhere, but I don't know where it is. But anyway, go ahead.
Right on. Barbra Streisand. I don't know if you saw this story or not. Barbra Streisand, 83 years old, won't admit to whether she and longtime pal Warren Beatty, 88, ever slept together during their rumored fling in the 70s. She says, I know I slept in a bed with him, but I can't remember if we had actual penetration. I swear to God, I can't. There are certain things I block out.
Well, he banged everybody all the time. I mean, all the time, everybody. Yeah. So if he slept in a bed with her, then...
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you said you'd slept next to Walt Chamberlain, I'd be like, well, probably a pretty good chance.
Yeah. Yeah, but in that time period. So I'm going to go with yes.
Yeah.
I don't, I know she's sexy, but I don't find her sexy. No. But men are supposed to find her sexy. And is Barbra Streisand, as far as guys will go, into the untraditional? Okay, so you go. Okay, Heidi Klum. All right, there you go. Tall and blonde and curvy, and everyone agrees on it, or whomever. You pick the celeb or the model or the whatever you're into. You go, okay, Rihanna. Okay, beautiful. Okay, fine. Then there's Rosie O'Donnell. Guys go, nah, not going to touch it. No. I don't care how much money she has. Or I don't care. No way. Then you get into like a Barbra Streisand, and you're sort of like, that's kind of the edge before guys fall off into the way guys are, which is like, a sad testimonial is if there's a hot 19-year-old blonde greeter at Chili's who goes to a junior college, we would fuck her over Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right, which is how guys roll. Whereas that wouldn't work. A chick would fuck Henry Kissinger before she fucked a good-looking dude who worked at a surf shop just because he was Henry Kissinger and blah, blah, blah. Is like Barbra Streisand sort of on that edge of where guys stop? Because if you keep going, now you're getting into, Joy Behar or Whoopi Goldberg or something. But then there was Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have the Tim Walz clip, by the way, which it just makes me laugh. Of what would Tim Walz do if he was a rich man, a millionaire?
This guy bugs me in a way that is probably unhealthy, and but
put him at the chuckle box.
I have to be careful about being a smartass. I was making a joke. These people have no sense of humor. They are the most literal people. But my point was they're all mad, and I said something I didn't probably shouldn't have about a company. He's
an idiot. Yeah,
agreed.
He's an idiot.
So
cool.
I make the case. They're all butthurt about the Tesla thing, but they don't care the disrespect they have shown to employees at the Minneapolis VA who care for our veterans, and they fire them. They don't care. So we will have the conversation about efficiency in government and about doing that. But none of us believe for a second they're thinking about this. Oh, we fired everybody that's dealing with Ebola. And then he went into the Oval Office wearing a hat. I don't ever want to hear anybody talk about decorum and respect or that. Wearing a hat, coming in there, richest man in the world. Again, this maybe is just me. If I'm the richest man in the world, I'm like out on the streets handing out the money. It'd be fun as hell just to help people out.
Such bullshit. Such pandering.
Not this guy.
But just to help people out.
Yeah.
Such a good dude.
Also,
just go out. You know what helps people out? Creating a job for them, not going out in the street. Be fun.
Yeah.
Hand them cash.
You should also tell the person who decided to walk out with a Mountain Dew bottle in the back on the stool, hey, why don't you keep that shit behind the curtain? We don't need to be showing off that we drink this idiotic beverage.
Well, as I always call it, nectar of the tarts. Yeah, he brought it in front of Congress the other day.
What?
I think it's the sort of guy who buys the beat-up trucker hat just to show he's sort of relatable. I think the Diet Mountain Dew thing's a relatable thing.
Maybe. I think
it's Hillary in the hot sauce. I think it's a kind of a thing where you just go, come on, man. Look at me. I'm like you, except for I just get back in a limo and fly privately. But yeah.
Used to like that guy. I used to like that guy.
That's funny. I've talked to you about him on the road a few times. You're like, I did this and he did that, but he's kind of gone weird.
COVID kind of was where it started. He did an okay job, and I know there's people in the YouTube comments that are going to, light me up for this. He did an okay job, not an amazing job with COVID, but it was somewhat respectable. Not great, but it was okay. But what really got me was when he was always the guy saying that they take the high road, that they're always going to be just a little bit better than the Republicans. And then he got on stage and called Elon or Trump, called him an asshole. And I went, whoa, wait a minute. I thought you were the guy who didn't use that kind of language. I thought you were better than everybody else. And then he really showed his hand, and I went, all right, I guess we're done.